Here's something that might surprise you. A woman may forget what you bought her, what you said, or even how long you dated, but she will never forget how you made her feel. That's the truth most men overlook. We live in a world where guys try to impress women with money, status, looks, or clever lines. But long after those things fade, what sticks with her is you, how you showed up, how you carried yourself, how you left a mark on her emotionally. And if you do the right things, consistently, confidently, and without needing applause, you'll be the man she never forgets, even if life takes you in different directions. Welcome to the channel, man. If you're tired of playing games, chasing short-term attention, or wondering why some guys leave a lasting impression while others fade instantly, then this video is going to open your eyes. Today, we're going into 5 things that women never forget. And no, they're not cliché nice guy behaviors or over-the-top romantic stunts. These are subtle, powerful actions and ways of being that lock into her memory and make you stand out. Not because you tried hard to be different, but because you moved like a man who gets it. This isn't about manipulating emotions. It's about understanding how women connect, what they feel deeply, and why certain men stay in their hearts for years, even if they haven't spoken in a decade. And here's the crazy part. It's usually not the loudest, flashiest guy she remembers. It's the one who left a deep emotional footprint without needing to shout about it. So, if you're ready to learn what actually makes you unforgettable to a woman, not just desirable but unforgettable, stay with me. We're diving into 7 core insights that break this down step by step. 1. He makes her feel truly safe without smothering her. A woman never forgets the man who makes her feel safe, but not just physically, emotionally, mentally, energetically, safe to be her full self without judgment, manipulation, or pressure. That kind of safety is rare. Most men don't understand it, and even fewer know how to give it without overstepping. Let's be clear, feeling safe is not about being passive. It doesn't mean catering to her every mood or avoiding conflict. In fact, the men who do that often come across as weak. Women don't want a man who bends just to keep the peace. What they remember, what truly impacts them, is a man who stays grounded no matter what's happening. He doesn't get emotionally rattled. He doesn't escalate when she's overwhelmed. He stays calm, solid, present. Now imagine this. She's going through something emotional. Maybe work stress, family drama, or just one of those days where everything feels off. Most guys either shut down, get annoyed, or try to fix it too fast. But the man she never forgets? He listens. He doesn't rush her. He doesn't talk over her. He gives her space without vanishing. He's just there. Not suffocating her, not asking for validation, not trying to solve every problem like a robot, just being steady. That emotional steadiness creates safety, and safety builds trust. Trust turns into emotional intimacy. And that is what makes a woman feel deeply connected, even if things don't work out long term. Now here's the mistake most men make. They confuse being there with being available 24/7. That's not what she wants. She doesn't want to be smothered. She doesn't want to feel like she has to carry your emotional needs on top of hers. She wants to know that you've got yourself handled first. That way, when she's off balance, you're not another weight. You're a solid place to land. And when a man strikes that balance, strong but not overbearing, present but not needy, attentive but not controlling, she remembers it. Long after the relationship ends, long after the good times and the tension fade, that feeling stays with her. She may date other men, she may even move on. But that memory, that rare feeling of being safe in your presence without losing herself, that's not something she'll forget, because it's not about what you did once. It's about how you showed up consistently. 2. He sees through her mask and doesn't flinch. Every woman wears a mask at some point. It's not deception, it's protection. She puts on the confident act, the sarcastic humor, the I don't need anyone energy. Sometimes it's flirty, sometimes it's defensive, and sometimes it's just emotionally cold. But behind that mask, there's a real woman, And the man she never forgets is the one who sees through it and doesn't flinch. Most men don't even notice the mask. They take everything at face value. If she's acting aloof, they assume she's not interested. If she's teasing or distant, they either try harder or pull away completely. But a man who's grounded, who really understands women, doesn't get baited by the surface behavior. He sees what's underneath, and he doesn't react emotionally to the act. Why does this matter so much? Because it shows strength. Not physical strength, but emotional composure. When a man can hold his frame, stay calm, and stay curious instead of reactive, she feels like she can finally breathe. She's used to men either trying to break her down or backing off too quickly. But when a man says more with his presence than his words, when he stays collected while she tests, pushes, or plays games, she starts to trust him. It's not about calling her out harshly. It's not about trying to psychoanalyze her. It's about observing, responding without ego, being firm without being aggressive, and showing, through your actions, that she doesn't have to perform with you. She can just be real. Now here's the key. You don't chase the real her out of hiding. You create a space where she chooses to drop the act. And she'll only do that if she senses you can handle who she actually is. That means you don't get offended by her moods. You don't beg for validation. You don't collapse when she pulls away. You see her mask, and you don't take it personally. That's rare. That's unforgettable. Because when a woman realizes, this man actually sees me, and he's not scared off by it, she experiences a level of emotional safety most men will never give her. And even if the relationship doesn't last, the way you saw her stays with her. So no, it's not about having slick game or saying all the right things. It's about presence, awareness, emotional control, and the willingness to hold your ground without becoming cold. 3. He knows when to walk away with dignity. One of the most unforgettable things a man can do in a woman's life is walk away. Not out of weakness, but out of strength. Most guys stick around too long. They keep showing up after the respect is gone, after the connection is clearly fading, after she's emotionally checked out. And every time they stay, begging, over-explaining, trying to make her see, they lose a piece of themselves. But the man she never forgets? He didn't beg. He didn't lash out. He didn't guilt her. He just knew when it was time to go, and he left with his dignity intact. Now let's be clear. Walking away doesn't mean storming out in anger. It's not some dramatic exit. That's still emotional chaos, and women forget that fast. What leaves a lasting impact is when a man stays calm, clear, and composed, and chooses peace over chasing. This is where men often struggle, because walking away feels like giving up. But in reality, walking away is choosing self-respect over emotional dependency. It's saying, I want this, but I don't need it. And if this no longer aligns with who I am, I'm not going to force it. And guess what happens when you do that? She feels it. Deeply. She may not react right away. She may even act cold or indifferent. But underneath that, she notices. Because walking away with calm confidence sends a clear message. I'm not here to prove myself to someone who doesn't value me. That kind of energy is powerful. It's rare. It disrupts her expectations. She was ready for you to chase, to cling, to apologize again and again. But you didn't. You chose stillness. And that stillness echoes in her mind, because it showed her that she couldn't shake your center. Even if she moves on, even if she dates someone else, she remembers the moment you stopped chasing. Not because it hurt her pride, though it probably did, but because it made her realize something. You weren't just a man who loved her. You were a man who loved yourself too. And that's the kind of man a woman never truly forgets. Because she knows. Not every man has the strength to walk away when it's hardest to do so. But you did. Not out of ego, not out of spite, but out of principle. And that principle becomes your legacy in her life. 4. He leads without needing control. There's a huge difference between leading and controlling, and most men confuse the two. The man a woman never forgets? He knows the difference. He doesn't dominate, he doesn't force, he doesn't manipulate. He leads, with calm direction and quiet confidence. Women don't want to be controlled, but they do want to feel led. That doesn't mean making every decision for her or bossing her around. It means bringing structure where there's chaos. It means making plans without always needing permission. It means having a vision and the confidence to move toward it, whether or not she agrees with every step. A woman remembers a man who could carry the weight of leadership without making her feel like a burden. See, when a man doesn't lead, a woman will either step up into that role or check out emotionally. That's when she starts questioning him, pushing him, testing him. Not because she's difficult, but because she's looking for stability. She wants to feel like you have direction, not just in the relationship, but in your life. If you don't have a mission or standards guiding you, she won't trust you to guide her either. But here's where it flips. The man who leads calmly doesn't chase her compliance. He doesn't need her to agree with everything. He doesn't argue to win. He simply stays grounded in what he believes, how he moves, and where he's going. And that calm sense of direction makes her relax. She feels like she can exhale. Because now, she doesn't have to lead everything. She can trust your energy to hold the frame. This is subtle but powerful. When you lead well, you don't have to say, "I'm the man." She just feels it. In how you speak, in how you move, in how you stay centered when she's uncertain or emotional. And here's the key. A real leader doesn't make it about dominance. He makes it about alignment. He invites her into his world, but he doesn't force her to stay in it. That makes her feel both free and safe, which is rare. And what's rare gets remembered. So if you want to be unforgettable to a woman, stop trying to control outcomes. Start showing leadership through your actions, your direction, and your consistency. The man who can lead without making her feel small or trapped, that's the man she thinks about long after he's gone. 5. He listens like it actually matters. This one sounds simple, but it's not. Most guys hear women. Few actually listen. And a woman never forgets the man who makes her feel like her words aren't just noise, but something that actually matters. When she's talking, most men are halfway present. They're distracted, waiting to reply, or trying to fix the problem before she's even finished expressing it. That kind of energy makes her feel dismissed, misunderstood, or like she's talking to a wall. But when a man listens with full attention, without rushing her, interrupting her, or making it all about himself, it hits different. Let's say she comes to you stressed about something small. Maybe it's her boss, a friend, or even just a bad day. Most men instantly try to offer solutions. Why don't you just do this? Next time you should. Here's what I would do. But here's the thing. She's not always asking you to fix it. She just wants to be heard, to be seen, to feel like her voice is safe with you. Now imagine this instead. She's venting. You're looking at her, not your phone. You're not rushing. You're giving her space to breathe and express. When she pauses, you don't cut in with advice. You nod, acknowledge how she feels, ask questions that show you're actually tuned in. That's the moment she feels it. This man isn't just here, he's present. And when a man does that consistently, not just during emotional breakdowns, but even in the small everyday moments, it creates a connection that sticks. It tells her you value her thoughts, that her emotions aren't inconvenient, that she doesn't have to filter herself or compete for attention. And that's when she opens up more, not because she has to, but because she wants to. Listening is a form of leadership. It's a sign of control, not over her, but over yourself. A man who listens well shows that he's not triggered by her emotions. He's not in a rush to dominate the conversation. He's not trying to win points. He's just grounded, and that makes her feel emotionally safe. She'll remember the man who remembered the little things she said. The man who noticed her tone changed before her words did. The man who made her feel heard without her having to yell for attention. It doesn't take expensive gifts to leave a lasting impression. Sometimes it's as simple as being the one guy who listened like she mattered. That's unforgettable. 6. He lives by standards, not approval. A woman will never forget a man who doesn't need her approval, because men like that are rare. Most guys, whether they admit it or not, are constantly adjusting who they are to keep a woman happy. They're afraid to upset her, afraid to speak their mind, afraid to say no when something doesn't feel right. They go with the flow not because they agree, but because they don't want to lose her, and women sense it. They don't always call it out, but they feel it, and it slowly kills attraction. But the man she never forgets? He lives by standards, not the need to be liked. That kind of man knows what he believes. He knows his boundaries, his values, and what kind of energy he allows in his life. He doesn't get pushed around emotionally. He doesn't tolerate disrespect, even if the woman is beautiful, even if he's into her. Because for him, respect always comes before romance. And here's what that does. It forces her to rise. It invites her to meet him at his level, not pull him down to hers. When a man is clear on who he is and what he stands for, he doesn't over-explain. He doesn't argue to be validated. He simply lives in alignment with his code. If someone crosses it, he walks calmly. No drama, no tantrum, just standards in motion. Now here's what most guys don't realize. Women respect that far more than your willingness to please. You might think saying yes to everything makes you the nice guy she wants, but it doesn't. What she wants deep down is a man whose respect for himself is unshakable. Because if you don't stand for something, you'll bend for everything, and that's not attractive, it's forgettable. And let's be clear, this isn't about being arrogant or dismissive. It's about having backbone. It's about moving through the world with your own internal compass, not constantly adjusting based on her moods or validation. The man who lives by standards can walk into any room, any relationship, any situation, and stay the same, unshaken, unmoved, unapologetic. That energy, it sticks in her memory, because it's not just rare, it's magnetic. So if you want to leave a mark that doesn't fade, stop performing for approval. Start living by principle. And if someone can't match that energy, let them forget you. You're not here to be remembered by everyone, just the ones who matter. 7. He doesn't just say it, he embodies it. Here's where most men fall off. They talk a good game, but don't live it. They say they're confident, but need constant validation. They say they're disciplined, but can't control their impulses. They say they want respect, but compromise their standards for attention. And women notice it, fast. You might fool her for a while with charm or smooth talk, but if your actions don't line up with your words, her trust erodes quietly. She might not confront you directly, but emotionally, she starts detaching. Because what sticks with a woman long after a relationship ends isn't what you promised, it's what you embodied. The man she never forgets isn't the one who talked about being high value, he moved like it. He didn't need to tell her he was disciplined, his habits proved it. He didn't explain his integrity, he made decisions that showed it. And that's where this gets real for you. Are you living the message you preach? Or are you only that man when it's convenient? When she's watching? When you're trying to win her over? Here's some tough love. Women remember the men who walk the walk, not just talk the talk. If you say you respect yourself, but keep going back to situations where you're disrespected, she sees it. If you say you're focused, but let lust or insecurity pull you off track, she feels it. If you say you're emotionally stable but blow up when tested, she won't forget that either. You don't need to be perfect. But you do need to be consistent. You need to be able to look in the mirror and say, I'm showing up as the man I claim to be. Not for her approval, but for your own self-respect. And when a woman meets a man like that, she remembers it. Because men like that are solid, rare, centered. They don't bluff, they are. And even if things end, whether through timing, life, or incompatibility, she won't forget the man who held his character without needing to perform. The man who was the same in private as he was in public. The man who could hold his frame, own his truth, and lead by example. So ask yourself this. Are you showing up as the man you say you are, or just talking like him? If you want to be unforgettable, embody it. Daily, quietly, fully. Because it's not your charm that sticks in her memory, it's your integrity. Here's the uncomfortable truth. A woman might forget your face. She might forget your name. But she'll never forget the man who made her feel something rare and real. Not the guy who tried too hard. Not the one who changed himself to be liked. But the one who moved with quiet confidence, who respected himself first, and who left an emotional imprint without needing to force it. That kind of man doesn't just date women, he impacts them. She might never say it. She might move on, start over, or even act like you didn't matter. But deep down, you did. And not because you chased her, not because you gave her everything she wanted, but because you were the one man who stood on principle, stayed consistent, and showed up with real masculine presence. That doesn't come from game, it comes from growth. It comes from building yourself into the kind of man who's solid, with or without her. And maybe that's the most important part. When she realizes she can't shake your presence, not because you're chasing her, but because you stop needing her. That's when you truly become unforgettable. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment below. Have you ever had a woman come back or admit she never forgot you? Or are you in the process of becoming that man right now? Let's talk about it. I read and reply to every comment because this isn't just content. This is community. Hit that like button if this resonated. Share it with a brother who needs to hear it. And subscribe for more straight truth, no fluff. Until next time, stand tall, lead with strength, and never forget your value.